welcome back. Now, some farmers and residents living along the flowway of the White Volta River in the northeast region are appealing for assistance to salvage their drowning food crops following the spillage of the Barge Dam by Burkina Faso. According to the farmers, the damage to their farm produce will worsen their poor living conditions as they have invested their life savings into the farms. The dam was opened on the 1st of the month and is expected to coincide with heavy rains to cause massive floods in some 185 communities and affect an estimated 200,000 people in the north of the country. In response to the spillage, farmers in the communities of Kwesingpe have actually begun harvesting their immature crops as the spilled waters may make their farmlands actually not in the best of shape. So let's get more from correspondent Elias Stanko, who has more in this report.
53-year-old Alassane Yao is a subsistence farmer at Kwesingpe community in the Western Presi municipality of the Northeast region. Together with his senior brother and 2 teenage boys, they have been working around the clock to harvest the crops on these 2-hectare maize fields in response to a flood alert issued by the National Disaster Management Organization.
We hear that they are going to spill the Barge Dam. And as of now, the maize is not yet matured. And when it's not mature like that, when you harvest the crop, you don't have place to dry them. So normally, at times, most of them will spoil. So because of the Barge Dam that we are harvesting them early like that.
Alassane and his brother are among the dozens of local farmers in this community who have inherited farmlands within the buffer zones of the White Volta River and the flowway of the Barge Dam from Burkina Faso. The farmlands here are fertile, however, not conducive for cultivation during the rainy season when the spillage of the dam often occurs. During this period every year, farmers are compelled to harvest their crops in their immature state.
When they open the water like this, at times our farm inputs, everything will go away and leave us. And most of the point, it brings disaster to us. So when we are in it, fighting to get our foodstuffs, maybe some of them will lose their life through that. So because of that, it disturbs us too much. So we are building to any government or any NGO who can come and assist us to canoes or anything that can help us. When the water comes like this, we can be able to convey our things before the water comes and take over the land.
Close to Alassane's farm, 42-year-old Salamatu Amadou has led her entire household to also salvage their maize farmland as the water from the spillage makes its way towards the area. She said they were responding to the flood warning sent out weeks ago by the Disaster Management Organization. As part of the preparations to move to the higher grounds, some farmers whose farmlands are submerged already are risking their lives using old canoes trying to harvest their drowning crops. They are calling on the National Disaster Management Organization to deploy canoes to help them harvest their crops.
If the water comes and we are going to harvest our maize, we don't have plenty boats here. Some go inside the water, maybe it's next day, and then the small insects, they are all affecting. Somebody can get snake bites, and maybe if he didn't get that, he would die because of it.
The opening of the Barge Dam is an annual occurrence since 1994 that often coincides with heavy rains to leave a devastating trail of destruction in some 185 communities within the Sada zone. The spillage in 2020 led to the death of over 10 people and massive destruction of properties, including farmlands and social infrastructures in the region. The National Disaster Management Organization has since arrived in the region and activated its flood response exercise codenamed Operation Thunderbolt. The Director General, Eric Nana Ajiman Prempe, led the stakeholders dialogue at Nalirgu on how to coordinate the floods that could occur as a result of the spillage.
Already some communities have been affected. They are cut off already. The water is now coming. Let me give you this information. For the first time in the history, the flow of the water, the rate is very high. Today, the water is coming at 672 million gallons per hour.
The Director General repeated the notice for all those carrying out activities along the riverbanks to immediately stop and evacuate.
Let us all encourage our people to harvest their crops, those on the banks. Let us also advise them, those who have livestock, to get them to a safer place, so that at the end of the day, the water will not wash them.
He said NADMO will continue to provide technical and relief support to the people affected by this annual occurrence, while urging the residents to pray so that the government could get finances to continue with the construction of the Pualugu multi-purpose dam project.
This is a project we should all pray that government gets finances to complete it, and it will help us. And this is a long-term solution to the Barge Dam Spillage.
Until then, the twin annual occurrence caused by the spillage of the dam and the torrential seasonal rains will continue to wreak havoc on the lives and livelihoods of poor farmers in the north of the country. For JoyNews, Ilyas Sutanko, Wale Wale.